Well, a big focus, a dramatic regime change in Venezuela, and the tremors are already rippling through global markets, it seems. Nicolas Maduro, long-time strongman of a sanctions-hit oil giant, is out. The world's largest proven oil reserves are suddenly in flux, with global supply dynamics now hanging in the balance. Many questions at this stage. Will this open the taps on Venezuelan crude? Could this ease global prices or trigger fresh geopolitical volatility? Well, NDTV Profit is tracking every angle from energy to equity. Let's listen in.
1650. Plus, Advent has clearly actually said that they will back the deal and they like Sudhir Singh's execution, and that is why they have joined this thing. So you don't have to be fearful about private equity exit. Plus, the total debt, suppose if they don't do QIP, they'll have to raise debt of 4,800 crores. Next year, their merged entity EBITDA will be 4,500 crores. So if I don't understand when 20,000 crore becomes suddenly expensive for a company which is making 4,500 crore EBITDA, and why then the companies are not making any money and you are getting 1 lakh crore, and that I don't understand. I just fail to understand. And one another thing, when Infosys did buyback, people were criticizing Infosys for rewarding back to the shareholders and not investing in business. Now when Coforge is investing in business.
Okay. So Parag Thakkar.
Then again you are, so basically you don't like IT business. That is what market wants to tell you.
Bullish on Coforge. All right, we're welcoming NDTV 24/7 viewers to our programming this morning as we're setting in for markets opening in just about 13 minutes odd. Pre-open rates are indicating, and these will take time to settle because the first couple of minutes sees a lot of frenetic activity, but they're indicating that you're going to see a lot of action maybe in your oil and gas space thanks to what has happened in Venezuela. Look at an ONGC, for example. Let's pull up an RIL. You're going to see maybe real estate plays in focus as well. A Sobha about 7.5% up this morning. Hind Copper continues to shine. And some of those companies which have had business updates. I want to pull up an Avenue Supermart for you. Let's pull up a V-Mart, a V2 Retail, all of these, a Marico, all of these from the point of view of companies that have given business updates ahead of their Q2 results. V2 Retail, they're looking good. V-Mart also looking good in the early minutes of trade. You know, just on the business updates and what we saw in terms of some of these companies. Coach, I want to come to you on a Marico, a V2 Retail, a V-Mart, and Avenue, some of those that have talked about business updates, which the street may look at from a bit of a mixed view today.
So I do agree with the thesis that there is traction in the FMCG space in general, right? But would I pick something like a Marico? Not yet. I would still prefer Tata Consumer, which is still consolidating, but it didn't even dip as much as the rest of the pack. So that and Godrej Consumer, these are some of the stocks that you could have on your radar. Marico becomes interesting if it crosses the 765 resistance, something that it, the high that it hit in early November. So that's something that you want to be a little watchful for. V2 Retail, I'm constructive on. In fact, I think it was on Friday or Thursday. It was on Friday when we discussed a call on V2 Retail for targets of 2500, 2555, came very close to those levels. Some consolidation. If there is a pullback, if you see some kind of a consolidation on the stock, I would actually go long on V2 Retail. That's the kind of setup that we're seeing. So Marico, V2 Retail, more constructive on V2, and from the FMCG space in general, more constructive on Godrej Consumer and Tata Consumer. Marico, you could perhaps hold your horses a little.
It's interesting, simply because V2 Retail fundamentally too is the one which actually delivered the best quarter amongst the 4 retail names that have come out, by the way. DMart, a bit of a disappointment, maybe V-Mart, definitely a disappointment, and even Bazaar style retail didn't quite really deliver per se. So, yep, watch out for V2 Retail. The others might have a soft day today, but it's time for the big brokerage call of the day. So first, let's get that out of the way. ICICI Securities is bullish on Latent View, has upgraded the stock to a buy, raised the target price. Sharad is here with the details of the note. Sharad.
Well, Neeraj, good morning. The broader indices are showing a good traction, and interestingly, the product-based companies, that's where institutional interest has started coming up, and now we are seeing the broking house reports also coming in. ICICI Securities on Latent View Technologies, they have upgraded it to buy from add. Even the target price that has been hiked from 480 rupees to 560 rupees per share. Now they are of course bullish, especially coming on the healthy revenue growth expectations on a sequential basis for the third quarter, and they're expecting that as by history, it's a seasonally strong quarter as well. Even 50 basis points EBITDA margin expansion is expected, and likely the company is expected to have a 2.5% year-on-year dollar growth coming in. Also, majority of the contract renewals in this business models happen in the month of December, and that augurs well for the company. And the FY27 numbers, that's also something which the broking house is very bullish on, and a profitable growth would be coming in. So that's the view coming in for Latent View from ICICI Securities.
Well, if you want to look at stocks to invest in, maybe that is one, but please do your own due diligence. Remember, you need to research the stocks that you're buying in before you kind of go out and press the button. But guys, today and this week particularly is more about an individual stock, is a lot more than just an individual stock, simply because if we thought 2026 will be different in 2025, the US action on Venezuela shows that it is more of the same, and volatility is ushered in way earlier in the year.
Yeah, and that's really what is worrying. Two things to look at it. One is how calmly all global asset classes are responding
to this, including oil.
To what has happened. Nothing has happened with oil. Brent is at $60 a barrel, simply because Venezuela actually has 20% of the world's oil resources but produces just 1%. And if the US actually goes in, takes charge of some of those resources and starts pumping out oil, you'll see oil prices going down. You anyway have an oversupply issue over there. Look at how markets are reacting. And I'm just going to pull up the Nifty right now. This is the pre-open session. So this is the trade before the trade, in a sense, that happens for the first 8 minutes. And you're seeing it completely flat. No big stress over there as far as the Nifty is concerned. Even in terms of stocks that are responding, you're not seeing equity markets respond in any negative way. Gold prices, of course, were up because it's a safe haven. You're going to expect that to happen. Bitcoin might see a bit of a boost when there is this kind of uncertainty. But I think what's key to watch is what happens next. And this is what US President Donald Trump said on Saturday after Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan president, was captured. Made it pretty clear that for now, America will run Venezuela.
The United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones, like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer. All perfectly executed and done.
Okay, so Donald Trump talking about the latest action on Venezuela, also putting in context everything that the US has done on the global stage, talking about attacks that have taken place in the past. But as Tamanna was pointed out, as Neeraj was pointing out, 2026 starting with global tension, geopolitical tension front and center. And one of the factors that you would have had to watch over the last 1 year is what gold has done. And it's currently, as I look at the screen, at about $4,400 per troy ounce in the global market. And you know that the Indian market essentially reflects that. It's come off from the high point. But bear in mind that a lot of fund managers are looking at this very, very closely. It's cooled off a tad bit. The question is, does that interest in gold come again? And from the stock market perspective, Parag Bhai, the relevance is, I was looking at a CSB bank, which has a gold loan portfolio. You have Manappuram, you have a Muthoot, which is a leader in the NBFC space. These are stocks that generally tend to benefit with gold prices going up. Would you be a buyer?
No, I'll not be a buyer.
Why?
Because I don't want to buy anything which has gone up so much.
Sure.
Simply because of that. I'm not saying that gold will fall big time from here. This is against my own DNA that I don't want to buy something which has gone up so much.
What is the contra bet today as we're starting off trade today? What is the
So
contrarian
cement is a
bet?
good contra bet in my view, table thumping buy from my side.
Really?
Yeah.
Back to cement. This is feeling like deja vu because last year,
December again.
December, you liked cement and then you cooled off. Why is it a table thumping buy?
Same thing. See, I'll tell you. One thing is that at least there is an attempt to take price hike. Let's see what happens finally. But I think there is an attempt.
But December they didn't manage. They had to lower prices in December.
So they tried to take it on 1st December, which they had to. But again, December demand was good. Demand in December, at least in South and in all over India, I think has been good. So I think this price hike will at least partially sustain. And some of the stocks have not moved only, right?
This is based on channel checks that you've done?
Yeah. Okay. So Ambuja, this is not moved as we discussed last time. Ramco Cement, there is another mining related news. That they'll be able to sell a better quality some product which is of a higher margin.
Which they accidentally discovered in the mine that
they bought that mine from Prism Cement.
Yeah, it is quite astounding.
What is the story?
So Parab, I would know, but so they bought a limestone reserve from
who's they?
Ramco Cement. Bought a limestone reserve from Prism Johnson in 2023-24, and suddenly they have figured out that it's not just limestone, but a higher quality mineral that they have, which sells at an EBITDA margin of 25-30%. So accidental bonus coming into Ramco Cement.
So over a period of time, it will take place. Plus, the other good thing Ramco has done is they have sold non-core assets. Right? Recently, 510 crores. They have said that another 200 crores is in the pay. So they are reducing debt. They are expanding capacity at a very low capex per ton. Now the price hikes have also started, and this news has also come. So I would say that Ramco, Ambuja, as I said, because it's a clean entity now, all ACC Orients even merged into it, 107 million ton debt-free balance sheet, and now price hikes. I think so. This cement selectively, of course, Ambuja and Ramco are very clear ones.
Standard disclosure, of course, that the Adani Group owns Ambuja as well, and you're watching NDTV Profit or the NDTV network, which is a part of the Adani Group. But, the beauty about Ambuja currently is that when they made the acquisition, right, when Adani Group took over Ambuja, it was at the similar price. Now they've consolidated the businesses.
Yes.
The logistic business supports the EBITDA margin performance, and the EBITDA per ton for Ambuja consolidated will inch higher. Yeah. And you're still getting it the same
They've
price.
actually guided for that, right? They're talking about 1300 plus.
Yeah. So which is why the notes are now starting to turn constructive. I presume that is why Parag Thakur is constructive as well.
What are you like?
See, as I told you, I don't want to buy into a momentum. Here the momentum has not yet started, and the price hikes have started to happen. December demand was good, so all green shoots are there. So we want to be at the earlier stage of the recovery.
Are you liking cement on charts?
Two stocks in particular, Ambuja I think stands as a common one for sure, because the recovery in price, as Parag Bhai was pointing out, surely there. This kind of consistent run in December was only perhaps seen in metals and PSUs. The cement sector, the cement stocks are definitely starting to turn a corner. So Ambuja is definitely a common one. But what I also like is Dalmia Bharat. This one also had its share of fall, but you've got a golden crossover of the 20 and the 50-day moving average. Very clean support at the 200-day moving average. So I think this is also one stock you can consider. Most of these stocks are opening anywhere from about 0.5% to 0.75% higher. But this is the early stage of the rally. You don't buy it for a day or so. You buy it for perhaps a month or a month or a quarter. So definitely an early trade. Dalmia and Ambuja are my picks.
I do want to ask about the metal pack as well. Since you mentioned metals, right, and it did hit as a pack the 52-week high last week. The question is, does it fall off from now?
It ideally should. If you want to get into a fresh trade into metals, the index itself is overheated, and we know what kind of run the stocks have had. So I wouldn't buy into metals right now. Definitely constructive on metals, but Hindalco, Hincopper, Hinzinc, most of these names, anywhere from 5 to 7% or maybe deeper declines, and then you go out and buy. Right now, you perhaps can hold, but not a fresh trade.
This is the big start, a different start to 2026 for all of the Indian viewers, because the market opens on NDTV Profit differently than it used to. But we'll see green, and that is the beauty. At least we are seeing a flat start. But the advances and the declines are in the green, which is actually a good thing, okay? So the implied open was a bit deceptive. We're starting off flat. Nifty banked though 1/3% higher, which is a great thing. Mid caps 0.14%, nothing too dramatic there. But the advanced decline ratio is positive, which prompts me to wonder what the small cap index is doing. Can we pull up the BSE small cap or the Nifty small cap index once and just see what the broader end of the spectrum is doing before you get to the heat map? This is IT, which is down, so balancing out the bank's gain, but the small cap index 0.3%, which is what explains the market breadth looking constructive as well. Let's get the heat map up on the screen and see what is it that is moving and what is it that is dragging the indices. Now, firstly, almost 50-50. So no big changes between the advances and the declines. What's doing well? CIL, interesting start, 1.78%. BEL, 1%. SBI, about 1% as well. There is strength in ONGC, about 0.9%. This is on account of the Venezuelan action. Some brokerages estimate that ONGC could get a windfall of $500 million from this developments that have happened in the last 48 hours. We'll talk about it in detail. We've already talked about it in detail, by the way, in the past, in the last few minutes. Nestle, RIL are amongst the other winners. What is not doing well? HCL Tech down about 1%. HDFC Bank down about 1%, reacting to its quarterly update, which on expected lines was a bit muted. And then there is Infosys, Wipro, etc. So IT is soft. Trent is a bit soft because retail hasn't had a great quarter thus far. And of course, HDFC Bank being the big drag. But Tamanna, on the whole, not a bad start, even though it's a flat start.
Aren't you just loving this screen?
I'm loving it.
Staying on the wall for even longer. Okay, so it's a 50-50. I mean, considering all things happening geopolitically, you would expect at least that much to take place in terms of nervousness. I want to pull up the India VIX. A good indicator is the volatility index of how the market actually views what's going to happen next. And that is up and about 7.5%. This is not a good sign. When your India VIX is up, that means that volatility and concern is up. 10 is not the indicator where it is at 10.14. That is not too much concern. Till 12, it's all right. But this shows you what is going on in the mind of the street if you look at it as a collective. I want to look at the broader indices as well if we can. So the mid cap there, mildly up in the green, about 0.25% up. That's not a bad sign at all. The small cap 250 doing pretty well, all things considered, about 0.5% up. And remember, this could be because some of those business updates have come in. Let's pull up the sectoral heat map for you very quickly and give you a sense of what's happening there. More green than red. PSU banks firing today, about 1.5% up, and we'll see if we can pull up the internals of that index as well in a bit. Oil and gas doing well. We told you all action in Venezuela actually on balance as a buying nation, good for India, which is why you're seeing oil prices going well. India defense also looking good. Watch out for defense as the unfolding story more than oil and gas on what is happening in Venezuela, because if the whole world will have to start protecting itself to this extent, not knowing when any great power can